Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive Hobbycast. Daniel here. I hope you are doing well, and if you are not, I hope you are soon. So welcome back to the second part of my flip through of my Asian DVD covers. This is going to be a long series, guys, so I'm hoping at least two of you are enjoying this, because we on the first episode, I think we looked at about 48 movies, and it was in an hour, and that was, I think, about a fifth of what we're going to be looking through. So I might have bitten off more than I can chew in this project, but I am having fun, so I'm going to continue it. I think next we're going to be going into a Johnny To section probably. So Johnny To next to like Choi Hawk, Chang Che, Lau Kar Lung, and maybe like Ronnie Yu or Wang Jing. Johnny To is in my favorite directors of all time, especially in Hong Kong directors. While he did not make martial arts movies, he did make a lot of crime cinema and urban crime cinema. And he is, I think he's like the Hong Kong Michael Mann, you might think of him. This movie, first up here, is Lifeline. This is one of his lesser efforts. I don't like this movie at all, but I would just buy and watch anything from Johnny To. One interesting fact here is it's produced by Mona Fong. So Mona Fong is probably the most prolific movie producer who ever lived. She produced probably over 200 movies, most of those being with the Shaw brothers. She was married to, I think, Run Run Shaw, so one of the two major Shaw brothers, Run Run and Run May. But her importance to world cinema cannot be overstated. But Lifeline is kind of like the Hong Kong backdraft. It's only okay. It's a little they definitely did not have the budget to do kind of a big fire movie properly, and so it just feels a little anticlimactic. Next up here is PTU, and that is another Johnny To movie, and this movie is awesome. And this does bring in a couple of... So Johnny To worked with the same group of actors a lot, and the main group was Simon Yam, Lam Sweat, Anthony Wong, and Francis Ng. And he worked with those actors quite a bit. And I know this one does have Simon Yam and Lam Sweat in it. And this is a really cool, very kind of dark, a day in the night of movie. It all takes place in one night about this crime unit patrolling the streets of this neighborhood and what they discover. And it's pretty wild what they discover. It's slow. His movies are not action-packed. They are that heroic bloodshed style movie like John Woo's The Killer or Hard Boiled, but they're mostly slower and a little more understated. He was a very thoughtful director, and that's why I do like him so much. This one will need a backdrop here to see. So this was his movie called Full-Time Killer, and that stars the great Andy Lau, who was in so many movies in the 90s and 2000s. Just a huge superstar. And this is a really cool crime thriller, Full-Time Killer. A little more cartoony than something like PTU, but really good nonetheless. Has a great atmosphere and a great look and just a great sound as well. And here we have his both of his Election 1 and Election 2, two of his big heavy hitter triad movies, all about politics that go on within the triads in Hong Kong. And I think both of these stars Simon Lam, Simon Yam, I can't remember. But these are very slow, more like crime dramas, not a lot of action, but a lot of tension, a lot of political tension, a lot of like the behind the scenes things that go on in a triad society. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, those are highly recommended. This is his movie. This is another Johnny To movie called Breaking News. And this was kind of about a crime drama that also revolves around the media. And one of the first kind of like Hong Kong movies to kind of tackle like real life situations, at least genre movies. And Johnny To, he was kind of interested in that kind of thing of looking at modern Hong Kong society and extrapolating out like kind of like the modern fears of the day-to-day Hong Kong people, and then making these kind of genre crime films around. So Breaking News was a pretty big hit, and it's a pretty good movie. Running on Karma. This is probably Johnny To's weirdest movie. This movie is bonkers. So Johnny To often worked with a guy named Wai Kai-fai, and they would work together. This stars Andy Lau and Cecilia Chung. And Andy Lau wears this prosthetic bodybuilder suit in the movie. And he's like this bodybuilding monk who I think he's been reincarnated a few times. It's absolutely insane. The great Johnny To, The Mission, Running Out of Time, and Heroic Trio. Three of his most famous movies. And I don't think, you'll see Running Out of Time. My copy of The Mission was a bootleg, and I don't have the cover for that. That movie is incredibly out of print, hard to find, and one of the best crime dramas of all time. It is, however, on Amazon Prime and also on YouTube, so check it out. The Heroic Trio, I also just have a bootleg of that, so I don't have a cover of that. But this is a really interesting movie. It's silly, but it also is somewhat poetic and kind of touching. So yeah, Running on Karma. And here we go. His Running Out of Time, one of his most popular, most famous movies. Another crime thriller starring Andy Lau and Lau Ching-wan. And a little slow. So again, going into his movies, don't think you're going to get the big kind of like running around, jumping, double fisting 9mm stuff like John Woo. These are slower movies, more, I would say, not thrillers, but more like crime dramas. And here we have Beyond Hypothermia. I think this one was produced. Yeah, this one was produced by Johnny To and directed by Patrick Leung. And I don't remember much about this movie, to tell you the truth. Killing is all she knows. So it's probably kind of the French movie. La Femme Nikita. Probably some kind of woman assassin movie. But yeah, I don't remember too much about Beyond Hypothermia. And let's see. So moving away from Johnny To, here we have, of course, Ip Man. This was the only Ip Man movie that I bought. This was kind of probably at the tail end of my buying Hong Kong DVDs. And this movie's okay. Not my favorite Donnie Yen. I know a lot of people like it. I mean, they made, like 5 of them. It does have Simon Yam in it. So Simon Yam, we just talked about him with the Johnny To movies. And it does have Sammo Hung. I recently rewatched Ip Man, and I enjoyed it. But I've never liked it enough to watch any of the sequels. So I've never seen any of the 4 or 5 sequels to Ip Man. And it looks like now we're probably moving into a Choi Hawk section. At least most of his movies are probably here. I might have a few more Johnny To movies in the stack. We'll have to see about that. But this Detective D and the Mystery of the Phantom Flame from Choi Hawk is probably the last really good Choi Hawk movie. He's made a few after, and they're not good. Let's go ahead and talk about Choi Hawk a little bit right now. So Choi Hawk, throughout the 70s and 80s and 90s, he was a very subversive filmmaker. In the 70s, he was an instrumental part of the Hong Kong New Wave, and he made very kind of important genre movies that challenged filmgoers and really changed the landscape of Hong Kong cinema. And he would continue that throughout the 90s. Oftentimes, they would have thinly veiled kind of critiques of the Chinese government. In Zoo Warriors of the Magic Mountain, for instance, the main villain is a giant red flag. And so when I say thinly veiled, I mean thinly veiled. And it looks like here, too, we have a giant red flag as a kind of villain there. So he was a little scared about the handover from the British of Hong Kong back to the Chinese. And after that handover, he pretty much stopped making subversive movies because I think he was afraid of what would happen to him from the Chinese government. And even though he continues to make movies, none of them have been very good at all. He's making his movies for the mainland audiences now, and the mainland audiences, what they want is they want 3D, they want special effects, they want spectacle. They don't want to really think about the movies. That's just how the movie industry is over there. It's one of the reasons why like the Marvel movies do so well over there. So he's really completely lost his edge, and he had an edge. You'll see some of his edge that he had, but this is the last movie of his that I really liked. So Detective D is kind of a famous character in Chinese like genre literature, and this is a movie about one of his stories. Very cool movie, lots of neat special effects. It's weird. It's got some interesting espionage. It does have Big Tony Leung in it, I believe. Andy Lau. Tony Leung Ka-Fai. That's the Big Tony Leung. And it's good. It's worth watching. It's a good popcorn movie. And speaking of good popcorn movies, Bandam's Knockoff. So this is a Choi Hawk movie. This is one of the 2 movies he made with Van Damme. And this movie gets dismissed a lot, but I actually think it is one of Choi Hawk's most subversive movies, because the entire movie takes place kind of on the eve of the handover of Hong Kong back to China, and that is at the backdrop of the entire movie. It's also about Jean-Claude Van Damme being the king of knockoffs. I mean, Van Damme knew what he was doing. He's a smart guy. If you need evidence of that, watch JCVD. But there's no way that Van Damme knew he wasn't being poked fun at, or his entire career is of being a kind of a knockoff of Hong Kong cinema. And in this movie, he is the king of knockoffs. He deals in bootlegs, and the whole movie is centered around the handover of Hong Kong back to China. I think it's a very interesting movie. It's by far not Choi Hawk's best movie, but it's better than it has any right to be. It also has a rickshaw race in which, what's that guy's name? I completely forgot the Saturday Night Live actor. Yep, going to completely blank on his name. Maybe it's back here. But he runs so fast that Rob Schneider, a terrible actor, Rob Schneider. He runs so fast that he blows out his shoes. And the movie is just kind of like that the entire time, just super crazy and weird. Time and Tide. This is a great Choi Hawk movie that I love. It has Anthony Wong in it. Anthony Wong is always an awesome actor. And this one was kind of in his early 2000s period, starring Nicholas Tsay. And Nicholas Tsay kind of in his... In the 2000s, a lot of Hong Kong pop stars, like young pop stars, started making a lot of movies. So the acting isn't as good as it was in like the 80s and 90s, but just some amazing action sequences, really good drama. It is kind of hard to follow, but there is a lot going on. Choi Hawk crammed a ton of plot into his movies, and he also did something that he would sometimes actually change the script. Excuse me. He would sometimes actually change the script after the movie was done. So a lot of Hong Kong movies, even in Hong Kong, are dubbed after the movie has been made. And so that would give Choi Hawk the ability to change dialogue and just bring somebody else in to lip sync. And the term that they used for what Choi Hawk did was lip rape. And to put new voices into his actors. He would sometimes be editing a movie, like a final reel, the night that it was supposed to premiere. So he was just a really loose and kind of a wild director. Fast, cheap, and out of control is how I would summarize Choi Hawk's work ethics. All right, so one of his early movies here, We're Going to Eat You, a kung fu cannibal comedy with martial arts choreography by Corey Yun. This movie is incredible. If you have never seen We're Going to Eat You, I highly recommend it. It has a handful of some of the coolest action scenes I've ever seen. And it has Choi Hawk's just absolutely crazy kind of early 80s, late 70s, Hong Kong New Wave style. This movie has so much style and so much energy. And here we have Chinese Ghost Story 2, which was produced by Choi Hawk and then directed by Jing Su-dong, who we have mentioned before. Those two worked together a lot. And it is kind of hard sometimes to tell who actually directed what, because a lot of times Jing Su-dong would be involved more in the special effects, more in the action, and then Choi Hawk would handle other things. So like I've said in the last episode, Choi Hawk was a very hands-on producer. But this, of course, stars Leslie Chung and Joey Wang again. Joey Wang playing that spiritual kung fu nymph, Jackie Chung and Michelle Rice. Leslie Chung had a pretty interesting career. He was kind of a serious actor who also did a lot of kung fu movies. And Seven Swords, a pretty big failure, to tell you the truth. This was supposed to be one of 7 movies, and it just didn't do very good. It has some interesting things going on. It does star Lau Kar-long in one of his last roles, but it never really took off. It never reached its lofty ambitions. It has some really beautiful shots. It's kind of like Choi Hawk's answer to Hero, or did it come after? I can't remember, but they're kind of like these big kind of epic, beautiful, big epics started to come out after Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and this was kind of like Choi Hawk's answer to that, and it just wasn't very good, and it ends on a cliffhanger. You need the rest of the story. He did also produce a TV series. And the TV series, if you've ever seen Hong Kong television, it's all pretty cheaply made, and it's hard for me to get into. I have the television series on DVD, but I just have never thought that it was very good. And here we have The Legend of Zoo, which is the follow-up to Zoo Warriors of the Magic Mountain. While Zoo Warriors of the Magic Mountain was mainly all practical effects and had a real sense, a real tangible physicality to it, The Legend of Zoo is practically a CG film. I think only the actors are live action, and sometimes I think even they are CG. So it's not nearly as good as Warriors of the Zoo Mountain, or Zoo Warriors of the Magic Mountain, and the acting is not as good, but it does have some neat moments, especially if you're into things like Final Fantasy and you like kind of video game cutscenes. This is like video game cutscene, the movie. And here we go. The Blade. Probably my favorite Choi Hawk movie. This movie, when I last did my top 100 movies of all time, which was a very long time ago, this movie was in the top 5. Starring, what was his name? Vincent Zhao. And yeah, this is a remake, a very loose remake of The One-Armed Swordsman, which we took a look at at the first episode. So Choi Hawk took that story and put his own spin on it, and it is an absolutely brutal movie. It is very much part of it, even though it came many years after the Chinese New Wave. It has that New Wave feel to it. It is very experimental. It is very artsy. The combat is chaotic and hard to follow on purpose, because it's all about showing the kinetic energy and how brutal combat can be. And this is for a long time, this was a very hard movie to find. This is a really nice bootleg. This company, Red Sun, put out a lot of bootlegs in the 2000s. And I was so happy when I finally got this copy of The Blade, because the old copy had a really bad modern dub, and I think it was also full screen. It was a UK version that was available forever, but this is a widescreen and with subtitles. And yeah, The Blade is amazing. If you want to see a movie that is unlike any other movie, I highly recommend The Blade. And then it looks like we're going into Once Upon a Time in China 3. And this is part of the original trilogy. This is a really good movie. Not as good as 1 and 2, but a really great third part of the trilogy. I don't really like any of the Once Upon a China movies after this one, but this is really cool. It has the famous lion dancing scenes in here, and just a big, sprawling kung fu epic made by Choi Hawk, and of course, starring Jet Li. You know, these are the movies that really propelled Jet Li to superstardom, and rightly so. Very well made. Cast of thousands, not thousands, probably hundreds, but you know, a lot of it was shot like on location, and just big, kind of just like a big epic. And sometimes you just want to see a big epic. This is The Missing, and I don't remember anything about The Missing. Directed by Choi Hawk, and I would just buy anything that he had his hands in at the time. And I don't remember anything about this. I don't remember if it was good. It probably wasn't, because of how little I remember about The Missing. And here we go. One of Choi Hawk's stone cold classics here, a classic of early 90s Hong Kong cinema. And that is Peking Opera Blues, starring Bridget Lan, Cherry Chung, and Sally Ye. This movie centers all around a Peking opera troupe and how they get involved in this kind of espionage with the government. Some great acting, amazing action, beautiful sets, very dreamlike, a dreamlike quality to it. Highly recommend Peking Opera Blues. This is a really nice remaster from Fortune Star. And yeah, this movie is one of my favorites. It's a movie that I used to watch probably once a year. Very, very good. Peking Opera Blues. Now we have a movie called Final Victory that was probably late, 87. So after the New Wave, but definitely influenced by the Chinese New Wave. And while this movie is directed by Patrick Tam, which we will mention Patrick Tam a little later, but and it was screenplay by Wong Kar-wai. So you've got Wong Kar-wai, Chinese New Wave, Patrick Tam, Chinese New Waves, and then it stars Choi Hawk. So that's why I bought it, because he stars in it. So this is one of the few movies that Choi Hawk actually acted in. Unfortunately, I don't think the movie is very good. It also stars Eric Tsang, a very young Eric Tsang, a great comedic performer there. But I want to rewatch this one, because I think I might appreciate it a little bit more now. I think I was maybe expecting something a little different from it. And here we have a follow-up to the first Detective D. This is called Young Detective D. This was directed by Choi Hawk, but I did not like this movie at all. This is really when Choi Hawk really started to go downhill. I cannot recommend this movie at all. But one I can recommend, the second movie that he made with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dennis Rodman and Mickey Rourke. And this is Double Team. Double Team is it's pretty wild. It's very colorful. It is kind of like a comic book movie, a cartoon come to life. There are some cool things about it. It's got a cool energy to it. What did this say? Stylish action show, high style, high energy, high speed. Okay. But Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dennis Rodman team up as a world-class counter-terrorist and his flamboyant but deadly weapons dealer in this explosive action-adventure thriller. This is a kind of a perfect movie just to throw on when you have a hangover on a Sunday afternoon or something. Burning Paradise. Yes. Burning Paradise was actually directed by Ringo Lam. So Ringo Lam, very famous in the early mid 80s, grew up right around the same came up right around the same time as John Woo. He made a lot of those heroic bloodshed, double-fisted 9mm, jumping all around, doves flying movies. But Burning Paradise was his entry into the martial arts genre, and it was produced by Choi Hawk, and it feels more like a Choi Hawk movie. As you can see, they put his name on here. They didn't even mention the director's name. It's very small down there. So kind of a Steven Spielberg poltergeist situation. But yeah, this movie is awesome. It's almost like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom as a martial arts movie. It's pretty brutal and it's actually pretty bloody for a martial arts movie, especially from the 90s. And it's not a category 3, so it's not an adult movie. But yeah, this is a really cool movie. Kind of hard to find these days, I believe. At least it was when I bought it. But yeah, Burning Paradise is one that I always love. Another Choi Hawk movie here, Love in the Time of Twilight. I believe this was kind of like a time travel romantic comedy. Very beautiful, very poetic and dreamlike. Did it star Leslie Chung? I believe Leslie Chung was in this. I don't remember a lot about it. I do remember that it took me a really long time to find a good copy on DVD. But this is a movie that I really want to revisit. And Choi Hawk did make some genre cinema, some non-action cinema. So this is a good example of that. And this is another copy of Peking Opera Blues, which I replaced with that remastered copy, which just looks so much better. And here we have the Swordsman 2. So in the first episode, we did take a look at Swordsman 1. Swordsman 2 was the follow-up. And this movie was fully directed by Choi Hawk. And I also believe Ching Soo-dong was involved. And this is a great movie. If you like 90s wire fu cinema, flying swordsman movies, this is kind of like a prototypical one of those. Tons of crazy action. Bridget Lin, of course, Jet Li, kind of a who's who of 90s wire fu movies, and just a big crazy. Bridget Lin plays what's her name? Asia the Red, I believe. Again, another thinly veiled critique of China, and she's like she's a villain. She often plays a villain in movies. But yeah, Swordsman 2, very very good. Okay, Flying Swords of Dragon Gate. Again, one of Choi Hawk's movies that he made for the mainland, and it's just a complete mess. It's 3D, but the DVD is not 3D, but you can tell it was made for 3D because there's all kinds of stuff flying at the screen, and the special effects are terrible. It stars Jet Li. Just absolutely nothing to this movie. It is so this movie is actually, Choi Hawk remade this once before as Dragon Gate Inn, and then that was also a remake of an old Shaw Brothers movie called Dragon Gate Inn. And I'm not sure why Choi Hawk wanted to remake it twice, but this is not the version to get. So yeah, this is a really bad movie. And Once Upon a Time in China 2. There we go. Yeah, this is probably the best Once Upon a Time in China movie. Choi Hawk, Jet Li, just absolutely incredible action choreography from Yuen Woo-ping, and has a great fight scene with Donnie Yen, right? Yeah, Donnie Yen in this scaffolding. I always love fights and scaffolding. And yeah, this is just, again, a great kung fu epic. Watch the whole trilogy in a weekend, and I think you will come away really liking it. So this is the movie I was talking about when I was talking about Choi Hawk's Edge. This movie is, this movie is like dangerous. Don't Play with Fire, aka Close Encounters of the First Kind of the Close Encounters of the, what was it called? It had a different name, but this was one of his entries into the Chinese new or the Hong Kong New Wave. If you like movies like Combat Shock or Taxi Driver, this you could have in a trilogy with those, in a thematic trilogy. It's a super nihilistic urban crime thriller. It has this showdown in this Hong Kong cemetery at the end that is absolutely amazing. Some of the best cinematography I've ever seen. The energy in this movie is crazy kinetic. Unfortunately, there is a scene of animal abuse in the movie against a mouse, and it's really hard to watch. Again, different culture, different time of cinema. They just had different kind of rules, and it does suck, and it does make this movie hard for me to recommend to a lot of people. But if you could just skip that 5 seconds, the movie is you've never seen anything like Don't Play with Fire. It is very hard to find. This is definitely a bootleg, but yeah, this movie rules. So here's the original, the liner notes for Double Team there. Here's the original remake that Choi Hawk made of, actually this is directed by Raymond Lee. So Raymond Lee and produced by Choi Hawk, but once again, Choi Hawk probably directed most of it. But this was the first remake of Dragon Inn. And this is one of those great kind of concepts of a lot of martial arts movies where a bunch of martial arts masters meet in one location where they become confined and they have to deal with their issues. Kind of like, Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. Think of The Hateful Eight with martial artists instead of racists. And and there you go. But yeah, Maggie Cheung is here, Bridget Lin, Donnie Yen. A classic of 90s wire fu movie, kind of slow, not a ton of action, but the action is really cool. It's got great cinematography, a great look, and just a highly recommended classic of flying swordsman style movies. All right, so I think we're approaching the end, or close to the end of the Choi Hawk section. I guess what we looked at before for Knockoff was actually the liner notes. So here is the actual DVD cover. I think the liner notes actually have a better picture there. And yep, okay, so I think that was the end of the Choi Hawk section. Here we are moving into, so this is a Japanese movie, of course, Battle Royale 2, the follow-up to Battle Royale. Battle Royale was originally directed by Kenji Fukusaki, and I believe this might have been the last movie he directed before he died. Category 3 movie. Battle Royale is, they've created an entire video game subgenre based on this idea where they would send these prisoners, basically these kids actually, to an island, and the kids had to fight, and the last one standing wins and gets to live. Very cynical movies. Battle Royale 2 is not nearly as good. So 3 years after the event of Battle Royale, it's a little more comic booky. It's a little less serious. Battle Royale actually has a pretty sharp edge to it. There's some real meaning to it and some great drama to it. All of that is pretty much missing in its sequel. And now we are, looks like we're going back to Zhang Yimou here, and we have looked at, what did we look at before? I can't remember the first. Oh, Hero. And this is House of Flying Daggers. And this was my original mainland Chinese copy. I think I have another copy somewhere too, with a little bit of a more interesting cover. But a pretty good movie. Not as good as Hero, but it has some really nice action sequences. And it stars Andy Lau. And it does have some really beautiful on-location shots. Again, a little slower, a little more poetic, more dreamlike movie, but one that I want to rewatch. It's been a long time since I've seen House of Flying Daggers. And here we have one that was after the craze of the J-horror craze, started by Audition and Ring. And here we have a Hong Kong entry into the J-horror style, and that is Horror Hotline Big Head Monster, starring Nikki Chow, Josie Ho, Francis Ng, Sam Lee, and Michelle Zhang. Sam Lee is hilarious. Francis Ng is I really like him a lot. Sam Lee is awesome. He's in one of my favorite zombie movies called Bio Zombie. We should see that sometime soon. But I don't remember much about this movie at all. I remember it not being very good. By this point, I had already seen, Audition, Ring, Ju-on, and Cairo. I'd seen all like the really great J-horror stuff, like very early, because I got them mainly all on VCD pretty early. But this one just kind of failed to interest me. Now we have a very serious movie from Wong Kar-wai, a non-genre. I guess there's a little bit of like genre-ness to this, but this is 2046, starring, was it Maggie Cheung and Little Tony Leung? Or Fei Wong and Gong Li. Zhang Ziyi. A pretty slow movie. So Wong Kar-wai's movies are mostly pretty slow, kind of surreal dramas, very kind of deliberately paced, lots of good mood and atmosphere. I don't love Wong Kar-wai's movies. I appreciate some of them. I really like Fallen Angels a lot. I think that's probably my favorite of his movies. And I know that's one that a lot of people, it's not their favorite. But Wong Kar-wai, 2046. If you want something that's just kind of slow and moody, noirish, this might be up your alley. And here we have Dragon Squad. Sammo Hung with a bunch of young pop stars. Actually, what was his name? I just forgot his name. Simon Yam. Simon Yam. Sorry. Sammo Hung and Simon Yam. Two great stars there. And then a bunch of pop stars. Dana Till Lee film. I don't remember anything about this movie. This might be one of those ones that I bought in a group. It's obviously some kind of bootleg here. It's on like cardboard. This might be one that I bought in like in a big batch. One of the last times I went to Vancouver's Chinatown, and maybe never watched. Okay, this movie, Eagles Shooting Heroes, has such an interesting backstory. So it stars pretty much it's a who's who of 90s cinema. You've got directed by Jeffrey Lau. You've got Tony Leung, Tony Leung Ka-Fai, so Little Tony Leung and Big Tony Leung, Leslie Chung, Maggie Chung, Joey Wong, Jackie Chung, Karina Law, Kenny Chung, and Veronica Yip, all in this insane kung fu comedy. So at the time, all of those actors and Andy Lau, or Jeffrey Lau, were working with Wong Kar-wai on Wong Kar-wai's wuxia film called Ashes of Time. Ashes of Time is super slow. I would argue that it's somewhat boring. It does have some very beautiful moments in it, but he said his goal was to make wuxia cinema like respectable. Well, you know what? That had already happened. And Choi Hawk's answer to Ashes of Time was The Blade, which The Blade is a better artsy wuxia film. But the actors, that movie, Ashes of Time, took so long to make, and it was so kind of boring to make, that all of the actors went and made like a fun movie while they were making that other movie. And this movie is insane. It's almost like a Three Stooges meets Sam Raimi kung fu film. Highly recommended if you just want to see something that is just absolutely wild. Hocus Pocus here. Okay, another supernatural Hong Kong supernatural martial arts movie. Not as good as Mr. Vampire or Mr. Vampire 2. Unfortunately, everything here is in Chinese, so you don't even get to see, I don't even remember who the director is of Hocus Pocus. But this was also from Fortune Star, and it looks like it was distributed in the United States by Taising. So I don't know much about Hocus Pocus. Okay, Sleeping Dead, another entry into the J-horror style coming from Hong Kong, directed by Chang Wai-man. I forgot this actor's name, but I believe he stars also in Biozombie, which is a really good zombie movie. Sleeping with the Dead. This is a movie that I do not recall at all. I do know that I probably bought Jordan Chan, there's his name. I probably bought this at Suncoast Video, but that's all I remember. All right, so here we go. This is the one that needs no introduction. Probably the one movie that everybody knows from Hong Kong is Hard Boiled and The Killer. You know, the movies that and City on Fire, the three movies that Quentin Tarantino was absolutely in love with. And when we first saw these early John Woo movies like The Killer and Hard Boiled, there was nothing like it. It was a very informative and informative part of like me growing up. And from 1992, directed John Woo. I think no, Choi Hawk did not produce this one. Choi Hawk did produce A Better Tomorrow with John Woo. So John Woo and Choi Hawk worked together for quite a while, but then they kind of had a falling out and went their separate ways. Choi Hawk, I believe, did produce The Killer. But Chow Yun-fat, this was definitely my introduction to Chow Yun-fat. And man, we watched this movie all the time. I know this is pretty rare, this Criterion. I worked at Tower Records at the time. And man, I was so mad that when we sold this and I bought it because they put the stickers on the outside of on the actual sleeve there. But yeah, that's too bad. I think that movie was worth like a couple $100 now or something. This is a movie that I have never watched. Vincent Zhao there. I bought it because of him. I do not know when I bought it. I do not know what it's called. I just bought it because I liked the cover. It looks like it has some kaiju in it. and I know absolutely nothing about this movie. So I need to track down this DVD and watch this movie. I'm going to set this one aside to do that. Here we have a really cheap Donnie Yen movie, Shaolin versus Devil's Omen. I remember this movie being kind of cool and weird, but I don't remember much more about it. Uncut Chinese version with English subtitles. I'm pretty sure that this probably has a terrible transfer, and it's probably really hard to see and really hard to read the subtitles. It just has that look from Fortune 5 DVD. Most likely some kind of gray area official bootleg. I don't know much about that one. Heavenly Mission. Heavenly Mission was pretty cool. So Stephen Fung and Eric Chang, again, two kind of pop stars there. Eric Chang from the Storm Riders and The Duel. Andy Lau, the director, made a lot of these movies with him. I don't believe this was directed by James Ewan. I don't know much about James Ewan, but this movie is okay. I kind of like this movie. It's got a different kind of atmosphere, a different kind of mood to it, one that I didn't see very often. This movie I have never watched. Oh no, Fubo. Sorry, yeah, Fubo. I was looking at that as how I have seen Fubo. It's directed by Eric Tsang. I believe he actually directed this, but it has Anthony Wong, Eric Tsang in it, two fantastic actors, and just kind of a slow, kind of a gritty crime drama, very kind of nihilistic. It's about mortuary assistants, and it's definitely one of the more artsy movies and kind of a serious film. This would be like one of their Oscar bait films. I believe Anthony Wong has won multiple Hong Kong Oscars. He's a fantastic actor. So I would watch and buy just about anything I could with him in it. Okay, so from Tokyo Shock here, the Tokyo Shock imprint, we have Red Wolf from the director of Iron Monkey. So that would be Yin Wu Ping. Kind of just a throwaway action movie. Don't remember too much about this one. So directed by Yuen Wu-ping, and just mentions him. Let's see, starring Kenny Ho, Christy Chung, I know her, Elaine Lui, Ngai Sing, and Cho Wing. Martial arts directors Cho Wing and Yung Ching Yan, Yuen Wu-ping. They made a ton of these movies in the 90s and early 2000s. And a lot of them just kind of came and went. And this is one of those that just kind of came and went. All right. Yes. Dead End of Besiegers. Yeah, that one always threw me for a loop. Cynthia Khan, directed by Zhang Sui Wai. Really, really cool movie. As good as its title. I've never really seen another movie like this. It has a really good production quality. A lot of it was shot on location. It's got a big cast, kind of a crazy, again, another one of those supernatural kung fu movies. But yeah, Dead End of Besiegers, pretty cool. A Warrior's Tragedy. I think this movie is pretty underrated. From the star of Better Tomorrow. Who would that be? So D Lung. So D Lung is an older actor, and he started off with the Shaw Brothers. Him and David Chang came up together in a lot of the old Shaw Brothers heroic bloodshed chivalry knight movies where they often fought with swords, and they would usually both of them would die at the end of the movies. But Frankie Chan, Julia Chung, Fanny Yuen, and Anita Yuen. Anita Yuen, I believe she was in the Once Upon a Time in China movies, right? Directed by Frankie Chan. D Lung is a really cool actor. I like him a lot. And this was one of the kind of only like flying swordsman style movies he was in. And not a lot of people talk about this movie, but I think it's definitely one worth checking out. It's kind of an under the radar, kind of one of those hidden gems that I picked up and was really happy that I did. The Runaway Pistol. This is the one that I was thinking of when I was mentioning about Fubo. This is the one that I don't think I've ever seen. Who is that directed by? Story by Kenneth B. Music, Samuel Chan. I cannot see. Starring Wilson Yip. So Wilson Yip is a really good actor. I like him a lot. I don't know too much about this one. Guns Don't Kill People. Oh, that's right. I have seen this one. This is about a gun. Kind of like an anthology film. That's right. This is about kind of like a gun that gets passed around in an evening or a day, and like all of the trouble that it causes. It's pretty nihilistic. I remember it's pretty kind of mean spirited and pretty gritty. So that is The Runaway Pistol. SPL. All right. So SPL, kind of one of Sammo Hung kind of had this comeback during this time. And this is his movie with Simon Yam and Donnie Yen. And yeah, this is a cool movie. It's a little slower than I thought. I expected it to be a little more action packed. But seeing Donnie Yen and an older Sammo Hung together is always a treat. And it's a really well-made crime thriller. Painted Skin. So Painted Skin, this is, I believe, a remake of a King Hu movie. Again, this one has Donnie Yen in it. And a supernatural flying swordsman movie. I think King Hu did an original version of Painted Skin. I think. Not positive, but I know it's kind of based on a famous folklore. So there have been a few movies made called Painted Skin, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't remember a lot about this movie, but I do remember liking it more than I thought I was going to. And The Duel. So Andy Lau, the director, Andrew Lau, I should say, not the star Andy Lau, but the director Andrew Lau. He made a lot of these kind of like pop star movies in the 2000s, and this is probably the best one. It does star Andy Lau and Ekin Chang, and lots of dodgy, kind of not so great special effects. The movies are always slower than I would have liked, especially Storm Riders. Storm Riders kind of came, and it was like the next big thing. And it was pretty disappointing. The Duel, I think, came right after Storm Riders, and it is a better example of what Storm Riders was trying to be. This kind of like big budget, epic style, really modern movie. But in focusing on all of that, the creators kind of like lost focus of what made these movies so endearing in the decades before. Another Vincent Zhao movie, 1661, the Sino-Dutch War. I have never watched this movie. I remember buying this in a whole bunch of movies. I bought like 20 movies in Vancouver, Chinatown. And I've never actually seen this one. I know it's a mainland movie, and I like Vincent Zhao because he was in Choi Hawk's The Blade. So if I saw his face on something, I would buy it. I'm going to set this one aside too, so I remember to watch it. Okay, so definitely a bootleg and a super rare movie, super hard to find. At least it was when I was collecting. And this is a movie directed by Sammo Hung called Blade of Fury. This movie is amazing. You can't even read that. It's a terrible, the cover is a terrible bootleg production. The DVD is actually really nice. The picture's nice. I was really surprised. Starring Cynthia Khan, Rosamund Kwan, and Di Lung, Simon Yip, I believe, and Sammo Hung. But yeah, this movie is incredible. So much good action, so many good action set pieces. Some of the most inventive action I've ever seen. Sammo Hung was on top of his game with Blade of Fury. All right, Stephen Chow, the Kung Fu comedian, his style of anything goes nonsense comedy, and that is Forbidden City Cop. I actually saw this at the New Beverly when they were streaming. They used to have a bunch of Hong Kong movies showing at the New Beverly in Southern California, and this was one of the ones I saw. One of my favorites, Forbidden City Cop. Really fun movie. Just about anything with Stephen Chow in it is worth checking out. Some more. Not all even hits and misses, but even the misses usually have something worth seeing, and Forbidden City Cop has a lot worth seeing. 2000 AD, kind of a techno thriller, and in the kind of the same vein as Enemy of the State, starring Aaron Kwok, a young guy. Aaron Kwok I don't think he ever really got the recognition he deserves. He kind of came around the same time as all the other like kind of young pop stars, but he was a really good actor, I thought. And Gordon Chan was also a pretty good director. I need to look up Gordon Chan and see what else he has done. I think he has worked with Jackie Chan before. But yeah, this movie's okay. I remember liking it. It's just kind of one of those just those techno thrillers that were so popular among that time. And here we have Possessed. Possessed is one of the early kind of shocking horror movies. I think we have Possessed 1 and Possessed 2 there. I read so much about these movies. They were kind of infamous for a while. And I remember watching them and them not actually being very good, being pretty disappointed in what they actually had to offer. I thought they would be a little more scandalous, and they just kind of are boring. I think Boxer's Omen is a much better representation of this kind of exploitative cinema from Hong Kong. And the Executioner, yeah, this is a one that, again, like The Warrior's Tragedy, a movie that isn't talked about too much. And of course, it does star Joey Wong from Butterfly and Sword and Chinese Ghost Story. She's probably playing some kind of supernatural ghost nymph type character. It also does star Jimmy Wang Yu, of course, of the One-Armed Swordsman, who recently died. Who directed this? I do not remember who directed The Executioner. It has some pretty cool special effects and some really neat set pieces and costumes. So this is one that, yeah, I really like this one. I bought it on a whim and just ended up kind of thinking it was pretty cool. Okay, so Bio Cops was kind of a follow-up with Sam Lee to Bio Zombies, but a huge disappointment. Not even like half as good as Bio Zombies. So I was very disappointed in this movie. Watched it one time. I used to watch Bio Zombies all the time. One of my favorite zombie movies of all time. But Bio Cops you can safely avoid. Okay, so here's my other copy of House of Flying Daggers. And yeah, much cooler cover. Really like that cover a lot. The Warriors, another movie starring Andy. No, this was Jet Li. Yeah, Jet Li. Don't remember too much about this one. This might have been kind of a cross production with the mainland. This was one of the last movies I bought. Definitely a bootleg because this is not on Blu-ray. This is actually a DVD, but it says it's on Blu-ray. So yeah, I don't remember too much about that one. And the Twins Effect, big disappointment here. Twins Effect, it started these two twins. They were like these girls who were supposed to be these like big pop stars. Also, Daniel Lee, is that his name? He's actually kind of made a name for himself in the States. He was on a TV show called Outland or something like that, some kind of post-apocalyptic kung fu TV series. I can't remember his name exactly, but I'm sure we'll come across it later. But and also starring this guy was also, I think that's Jackie Chan's son. That's right. So Jackie Chan and Jackie Chan's son. He's not good at all. The two main stars are not good at all. The direction. Oh, this is actually Twins Effect 2. Twins Effect 1 I have on VCD. That's right. So Twins Effect 1 is okay. Twins Effect 2 is the one that's not very good. All right, so back to an absolute stone cold classic here. And this will be the last movie we look at in this episode here. And that is Tai Chi Master, starring Jet Li and Michelle Yeoh, directed by Yuen Woo-ping. If you watch one wuxia movie, if you watch one flying swordsman movie from the 90s, this might be the one to watch. Maybe this and Iron Monkey. But Tai Chi Master is just incredible. So much good action, so many good characters. That real good kind of like broad comedy that was so apparent in these 90s movies. But yeah, really cool movie. I actually saw this one I think it's at the New Beverly as well, and that was a fantastic experience watching something like this on the big screen. So all right, you guys. I think we're about a third of the way done. So that will be the end of episode 2, and we will continue on in episode 3. Take it easy. Bye-bye.